Last week, we learned about these world creators, and they stand in the phenomenon and they see its mystic source. They don't heed anything of our human play. And he writes, "These heed not the deceiving outward play. They turn not to the moment's busy tramp, but listen with the still patience of the unborn for the slow footsteps of destiny, of far destiny, approaching through the huge distances of time, unmarked by the eye that sees effect and cause, unheard mid the clamor of the human plane." And this is where, of course, we have read about Kalki. Remember Kalki? No. Kalki is said to be the last avatar. Kalki is said to be the final avatar, that there will be no avatars after him. The world will change into the world of supramental consciousness. So we learn from Mother and Sri Aurobindo that he is the last avatar. Powerful, powerful thing. That we are born in this time when the last avatar has appeared on earth. We've had so many before. We've had Rama, we've had Krishna, we've had Christ, and now we have Sri Aurobindo and Mother to change, as he says in Savitri, this earthly life to life divine. We may ask, why is this tiny dot in all the galaxies of the universe chosen for something so special? Sri Aurobindo tells us that it is the place where the divine wants to manifest. And so he has sent down an involution from the highest heights, an involution to meet with the evolution of humanity. And this involution, as it descends, becomes more compressed. So we are not able to see the full divine manifestation until we can rise up again and have a vision of it through the progress of our soul, through the opening of what Sri Aurobindo has named the psychic being. The psychic being, he tells us, is behind the heart, not in front of the heart, behind the heart. And it is waiting its moment to come out and lead the consciousness to the light. So we continue in Savitri now. And I will start with the following. This is again the overseers, speaking of the overseers. Amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, across the cries of anguish and of joy, across the triumph, fighting and despair, they watch the bliss for which earth's heart has cried. On the long road which cannot see its end, winding undetected through the skeptic days, and to meet it, guide the unheedful, moving world. Thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. So we have to try and understand a little bit about this masked transcendent. The transcendent is the highest, the ultimate, the imperishable, the untouchable, the unapproachable. He dwells only in the silence. And most importantly, you see, it is through the supermind which descends from the transcendent that the world is created. And the world is created in ignorance. Why in ignorance? Because when this descent of the involution takes place, it compresses, diminishes itself, doesn't change itself, but it diminishes itself. So we are born without understanding anything. The baby just reaches for its mother's breast, and that's all it knows. There is no further consciousness. But consciousness begins to grow as we grow. And that consciousness is what is going to take us to the next level of understanding. So, thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. And now we have a passage that is so beautiful, you could weep hearing it. As a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. A voice ill heard shall speak, the soul obey. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. A charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and beauty conquer the resisting world. Let's go through those lines a little bit. Because for many of us, the divine has to enter as a thief in the night because we're so unaware. And so he does that. He comes as a thief into a night, into our heart, into our consciousness. And then this voice, and Sri Aurobindo says, it's ill heard, not well heard at all, shall speak, and the soul will obey. and a power into mind's inner chamber steal, a charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and beauty conquer the resisting world. Sri Aurobindo says this world was made for bliss, for ananda, not for any other reason. Think about that. We are here to experience supreme bliss. Beyond thought, beyond desire, beyond the vital's nature, beyond the body's reticence to progress. And this is something very important that we should share. Sri Aurobindo did not himself do exercise, but Mother has created the ashram for everyone to exercise. And so we have these different marches from the youngest to the oldest, and it's called March Past. So we must pay attention to the physical body so it can keep up with our inner progress. I'll continue on. And I didn't finish that passage because I wanted to stop and talk to you. It ended with, and beauty conquer the resisting world. But now, after that comma, the truth light capture nature by surprise. The truth light is the supramental consciousness. That will capture nature by surprise, because it will turn everything to beauty and to truth and to peace. The truth light is the symbol also of the supramental. And now he says, a stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. So first he talks about this thief in the night that comes secretly into us. And then he talks about this stealth of God that's going to compel the heart to bliss. How can we help him to compel this heart to bliss that sees everything in duality, good and bad, hot and cold, love and hate, etc., to no end? Well, we have to try to leap out of the ignorance in which we live. The ignorance is the first stage: body, life, and mind. We have to, in the silence and through our inner aspiration, leap out of the physical mind into the spiritual realms of consciousness. And those begin simply with the higher mind. The higher mind has the light of seeing things not in the duality as we see them, but as complementary to each other. From there we rise to the illumined mind, and then the intuitive mind, which has this vast vision, and finally into the overmind, which is extremely high because it's just beneath the supermind. And the overmind still has this aspect of duality, but everything is becoming, shall I say, homogenized, unified. And from there, the third stage, which is the supramental. Beyond the supramental, there is simply Sat, Chit, Ananda. Or we can say Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. Because the Shakti, Prakriti, is the creatrix of this world. When she has descended so intimately into form, and this is a very important part. Without form, there is nothing. There is simply the ultimate disappearance of everything in the transcendent. So when the divine Shakti takes form as Prakriti, she is limited. And so we call her Gaia, or nature. And nature is constantly experimenting. She's destroying and she's creating at the same time. So the dinosaurs had to go, and something better came. Horses, antelopes, marvelous creatures. Now they don't have a mind. They live by instinct. But does anyone have a pet? Pet? 2 people have a pet? 3 people have a pet. So those of you who have had a pet can see that the pet has taken on some of your aspects. You treat it with love. It responds to that love. And the mother made many experiments on cats. And she saw that there was one cat who was ready to take human birth in its next transformation. So there is a line in Savitri that's I have to share with you because it's so important. Everything is evolving. Everything is evolving. And Sri Aurobindo writes, and in the worm foresees the coming God. So the worm in its time, through its evolutions, is also going to become a God. And that's the importance of evolution. We have already had probably thousands of births, because Sri Aurobindo tells us that after we leave this physical body and go to our resting place, generally, not 100%, but generally, we are there only 2 years before we decide to take our next birth. So you can imagine how many births we must have had to be here at this time, at this epoch of creation, of transformation. And we may have to go through many other births and deaths before we reach the possibility of becoming supramental beings. But Sri Aurobindo has guaranteed us that each of us will become supramental. There is no question about it. The evolution does not end. So be grateful, be humble, Be aware that it is such a blessing to be here on the earth at this time. No matter how old or how young we are, no matter what sex we are, no matter what background, education, environment we are in, we are blessed to be here. So, to conclude that statement, not quite, but a stealth of God compel the heart to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. Now he's going to tell us more, because matter to us is something inert, something that has no life in it. But that's not correct. If the divine is everywhere, he is also in matter, but not yet formed. So here he writes, in matter shall be lit the Spirit's glow. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. That's us. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. The days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will, a force of the Eternal's power, and thought, the rays of a spiritual sun. And now we have 4 lines that often confuse Westerners, especially, sometimes many people. And we have to see what those 4 lines truly mean. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. For man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. How many of us are able to see the supermind? None of us. Can we feel the supermind? Not really yet. Can we see things changing? Yes, changing. Attempts in the world scene at some kind of peaceful coexistence. You see, the earth has been so damaged by mankind. Polluted rivers, polluted streams, polluted ocean, polluted atmosphere with toxins, polluted plants and nourishment with all kinds of chemical additives. The earth, too, is going to be purified. I'll tell you a discussion I had with a friend of mine about plastics. Many years ago, in the 1960s, I went to Tulum, which is just across the bay from one of the greatest diving areas in the world, scuba diving areas. And it was the most beautiful place you could imagine, with the river coming into the sea, the colors of the sea of such beauty, the mountains of such beauty. Today I'm told there's a mountain of plastic higher than the mountains in that area, Chichen Itza and other mountains. My friend said to me, the supramental is going to use that plastic to create something beautiful. Wow, what a statement. So, I'll read these 4 lines again. A few shall see what none yet understands. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. The wise men who know everything about the material world and nothing about the inner world, while they talk and sleep. For man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. You see, we see something that seems like a miracle. I had a friend, briefly, who had what we call in India a siddhi. We know what a siddhi is? Yes? Siddhi? Yes, a realization, huh? A power. A power. And he had the power to know on any roulette board the exact number that would come up. And we went to a festival in Italy, in New York City. And we got to the roulette board. And he said to the young girl, I'll take the largest bear right on the top. And she looks at him with this strange look. And so she spins the thing. And he would not let anyone else do it with him. He said, it is a power only given to me for this. And there are other powers given to many people. The power of telekinesis, the power of telecommunication, so many powers. Anyway, it came up exactly. There's hundreds of thousands of possibilities on that roulette rule. And she took the big bear down and gave it to him. And we named the bear Some Luck. Okay, so we continue with Savitri now. A consciousness that knows not its own truth. A vagrant hunter of misleading dawns. Between the being's dark and luminous ends, moves here in a half-light that seems the whole. An interregnum in reality. Now, many of you how many of you are here for the first time? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people here for the first time. So let me tell you a little bit about how I am guided by Sri Aurobindo to speak about Savitri. The first thing, and I have read Savitri probably 10 times cover to cover. The first thing I realized is that there are many, many words that we don't easily understand. So I took that into consideration. Then there is terminology in the integral yoga of which we are completely ignorant. What is the difference in the inconscious, the subconscious, the subliminal? All of these are clearly defined by Sri Aurobindo. And as we learn them, we grow within more and more. So I would go through all the works of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and that is many, many volumes. And whenever I came to a particular term, I would write down the definition that they gave. The second step I took was to go to the Cambridge Dictionary, which was Sri Aurobindo's favorite dictionary when he lived in England, and I would take the definitions that were not in his or mother's works. Then thirdly, I would go to the greater minds in the ashram, Nolini, Aurobindo Basu, Purani, and many others, and ask them to define a particular phrase. And so I put all this together, and sometimes you'll see me scrolling down like this, and that's just definitions. So today we have the word, where was it now? Go up here. A consciousness that knows not its own truth. Now, Sri Aurobindo often capitalizes a word to give us the exact meaning of that word. Oh, we may have dozens of meanings for some words, but here he capitalizes consciousness. So I'm going to share with you, since we have enough time, a few things that Sri Aurobindo says about consciousness. The first is from one of his many thousands of letters on yoga. And those books are available in Pondicherry and I believe in Oroville also. So let us see what he says. Number one, consciousness is a fundamental thing, the fundamental thing in existence. It is the energy, the motion, the movement of consciousness that creates the universe and all that is in it. Not only the macrocosm, but the microcosm is nothing but consciousness arranging itself. And another letter on yoga. Consciousness is not only power of awareness of self and things. It is or has also a dynamic and creative energy. It can determine its own reactions or abstain from reactions. It can not only answer to forces, but create or put out from itself forces. Consciousness is Chit, but also Chit Shakti. Very, very important. And in the Life Divine, he writes, for the essence of consciousness is the power to be aware of itself and its objects. And then again, in a long letter on Savitri, which I'll only quote briefly, to me, for instance, consciousness is the very stuff of existence. And I can feel it everywhere, enveloping and penetrating the stone as much as man or the animal. Wow. A movement, a flow of consciousness is not to me an image, but a fact. If I wrote, quote, his anger climbed against me in a stream, it would be to the general reader a mere image, not something that was felt by me in a sensible experience. Yet I would only be describing in exact terms what actually happened once. A stream of anger, a sensible and violent current of it, rising up from downstairs and rushing upon me as I sat in the veranda of the guest house. The truth of it being confirmed afterwards by the confession of the person who had the movement. And I think in some ways, all of us have felt this. Someone who's been very angry towards us, that anger hit us, sometimes like a blow. Sometimes like a storm, it came upon us. Of course, it goes afterwards, but for the moment we are often shaken. So, I continue now. An interregnum in reality. What is an interregnum? Very simply, it's a pause or interruption in continuity. So it's a pause in reality, an interregnum in reality. Now, we have to talk a little bit about the construction of Savitri. Sri Aurobindo has honored the great epic writers of the past, and he has put Savitri in iambic pentameter. Now, pentameter means 5 beats, and an iamb is a particular type of beat, short, long. Between the being's dark and luminous ends, an interregnum in reality. Rhythm is so important in all poetry, not the poetry of today, with some exceptions, but in all poetry. And iambic pentameter is the most powerful and beautiful of all rhythms. There is tetrameter, 4 beats to the line. There is trimeter, 3 beats to the line. He came upon a cow, 3 beats. 4 beats. In this wide and wonderful world. And then iambic pentameter. All of Savitri is written in iambic pentameter. So we have the line, an interregnum in reality. What does it do? Cuts off the integral thought, the total power. And you see here I have pages and pages of definitions. I'll just give you an example. Reality. We'll talk about reality another time. And thought. Thought is often capitalized. What is thought? What is reality? What is power? Power is often capitalized. It circles or stands in a vague interspace, doubtful of its beginning and its close, or runs upon a road that has no end. Far from the original dusk, the final flame, in some huge void in conscience, it lives. Like a thought, persisting in a wide emptiness. So I think I'll end today at this last line of the section, and maybe we can talk a little bit about things that you feel in life, and I'll try to answer as best I can. We can get into things like the busy mind that cannot stop the thoughts from flowing. And I can speak a little of that just for a moment. All the thoughts that we have are not ours. We think they're ours. Oh yeah, I came up with this idea the other day, blah, blah, blah. They're not. They're from the universal sphere of existence. And they enter into our head. And they play with us, sometimes very nastily, other times humorously, other times deeply. But these thoughts are not our thoughts. Our thoughts can only come from the psychic being, from the inner being, when it receives through the higher mind a vision, an intuition, an idea. Any questions?
How can we distinguish?
It's a good question. And Sri Aurobindo says, as we are now, we cannot really distinguish. What we can do is make the mind silent in a deep, deep peace. And even in the ignorance in which we live, we'll be able to detect some thoughts that attempt to come in. Now, this silent mind is something very complex, because Sri Aurobindo didn't have it when he was in England, or even when he first came as a freedom fighter for India. He met a seer, a yogi named Lily. And Lily said, I will give you the silent mind in a few days. But Sri Aurobindo achieved it in one day. And the silent mind can drive some people crazy. There are many disciples of Sri Aurobindo who asked him, give me the silent mind, I want to experience it. And when he gave it to them, they couldn't handle it. And they said, please take it away. I don't want it. I want my old mind back.
Is that because of attachment?
Pardon?
Is that because of attachment? Attachment.
Attachment?
The monkey mind, the monkey mind.
Yes, we're attached to everything.
And they couldn't bear it.
We're attached to our families, very much attached, I'm afraid, to many. We're attached to certain kinds of food. We're attached to a certain style of dress. We're attached to others, lovers, friends, companions. We're attached to our environment. I like to live in a cool climate. But I can't. I'm here. But I'm still attached to the cool climates and the beauties of this different seasons. But you live where you are supposed to be. And we are supposed to be children of the new consciousness. All of us, no exceptions. Children of the new consciousness. And eventually, transformed beings, where there is no more sadness, no more irritation, no more confrontations, no more anger, but a world on earth of peace and ananda. Ananda is the Indian word, the Sanskrit word, that cannot even quite be defined as peace, because it's even as bliss, because it's even above bliss. So, okay. There is what we call 4 stages of experience. We all are right now in the first stage, which is ignorance. Body, life, and mind. The moment we can rise into that next stage, there are different rules and different laws. Let's take morality. Morality here has been very important in the Western world especially. Do no evil to anyone, do not covet someone else's wife, do not do this, do not do this. The commandments. But when we have risen into that next sphere of life, which is called the realm of supramental consciousness, we no longer have these morals. They don't exist for us anymore. Duality doesn't exist for us anymore. We can say here, love and hate are totally opposite. But when we enter that sphere of the higher consciousness, we see that love and hate are only complementary things, expressed in different ways, because there is no hate. And the silent mind is when we have entered that sphere of existence. Everything changes. We have to pray for that. The first thing is offering. We have to offer ourselves to the divine. Truly offer ourselves. Surrender. Give up the things that we're so tied to. Peace. I could go on and on. That's the preparation for rising into the spiritual realms of existence. Thank you all. Namaste. 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 If you can come weekly, Savitri will open to you such an experience of the divine presence that no other book can do. And Mother says that directly to us. She says that Savitri is the way. And I'm grateful to have the blessing to share a little of it with you. But Mother says also that every time you read Savitri again, the same lines, you will receive something even more. Each time.